Hey everyone, this is Rima's Culinary Adventures and we are making Vanilla Bavarois with Strawberry Coulis. But first, a little bit about this channel. I call this Rima's Culinary Adventures. So basically, it's me on a food adventure. Over the past few months, I've found a lot of joy in taking on projects, mostly food-related projects. Things like looking up a recipe online, creating something more complicated, creating something that is interesting to me, but something that I've never really done before. So in this channel, I've decided that I'm just going to take on these projects and I'm going to record myself doing it so that someday I can look back at all of this and see how far I've come. And also, I hope that someday somebody who wants to know how to make something could look up my recipe and then identify what works, what doesn't, what could go wrong, how to fix it. Basically, I want to just record my journey and see how far I can go. So now a little bit about bavarois. I didn't know about the concept of bavarois till about 5 years back. Back in 2015, when I got married, we were deciding what we want to serve for our reception. It was a family style reception and we had to also pick a choice of desserts. I remember going with gulab jamun, some kheer, there was some ice cream, and there was this new thing that I saw on the menu. It was vanilla bavarois with praline and caramel sauce. That sounds so interesting to me, and lo and behold, it worked out really well. Everybody loved it, and since then I've been trying to understand how to make it well. Then finally, I'm pleased to say that I've come to a point where I can confidently make a bavarois and know that it will work. So now that I have that all sorted out, I want to share this with you, and someday if you would like to make it, give it a shot, and I hope you like it. So here's our ingredients. We start with double cream, some vanilla extract, egg yolks, some whole milk, sugar for the bavarois, some gelatin, strawberries, sugar for coulis, and some oil to grease my molds. We will also need some ice and some water later. First, we prepare our double cream. Add in your vanilla extract. I like to start with about a teaspoon, but you can add as much as you want. Give it a good whisk till it's about an emulsion paint-like consistency. We want it to get rich and thick, but we don't want it to form any peaks yet. At this stage, we are looking for ribbons that hold for about a few seconds before they disappear completely into the cream. Here, choose to underwhip, then overwhip, because you can always finish it up later. Once done, set it aside in room temperature to make sure it's easy to incorporate it with our custard later on. Now I'll separate my egg yolks because that's all we really need for this recipe. I'm going to be very precise here and make sure that I don't get any of the yolks in my white because I plan to make meringues later. But if you are only going to discard the whites or make an omelette out of it, you don't have to be as precise. I like to crack my eggs in the middle and then pour all of the egg into my freshly washed, clean hands, and then the whites just drain onto the bowl, and then I can place the yolk in an appropriately sized bowl to use later. This I find is a fairly simple and practical way to separate eggs. Practically no risk of a bad egg or a broken yolk getting into my meringues later on. With my yolks ready, now it's time to prepare my custard. Bring your whole milk to a gentle simmer to ensure that it starts to scald. To tell that your milk is sufficiently scalded, we want to see those little bubbles on the surface and we want to see a lot of steam. Once we start to see that, we can set it aside and add in your sugar that you reserve for your bavarois and let it stand until the sugar dissolves and the milk cools down a little. This is the perfect time to prepare our gelatin. All we need to do is take a quarter cup or about 4 tablespoons of hot water, recently boiled water, and add in your gelatin. Give it a good mix until all of your gelatin dissolves. You can also microwave this mixture in bursts of 10 seconds until the gelatin completely mixes in with the water and all you are left with is a clear liquid. You could also use leaf gelatin as mentioned in the description box below and then soak it in cold water until you are ready to use. Now with our gelatin prepped and our milk slightly cold, whisk in the egg yolks to break it apart slightly and pour the milk slowly and gradually, whisking continuously to make sure the egg doesn't scramble. Pour in a little, give it a good mix, and then slowly add in the rest of your milk until the egg yolks and the sweetened milk is completely combined. Now, making sure that you use a clean pan devoid of any milk solids, pour in your custard mixture and place it over low heat. Here we are looking to make a custard that is smooth, well incorporated, and really quite silky. We're not looking to thicken it up too much. We just want it to get slightly thicker and then our gelatin will do the rest of the work. Cook your custard on low heat, stirring constantly with a spatula until you see a little bit of steam and the bottom feels quite velvety underneath. The trick is to use the spatula with some caution. We don't want to scrape the bottom vigorously and incorporate any occasional scrambled bits of eggs into our custard. The idea is to keep it moving and to just feel it very, very gently. When the custard thickens to a nappe consistency, that is when it leaves a line when you run your finger through your spatula, your custard's almost done. As you can see, there's quite a bit of steam, and to me, the bottom feels velvety. I think at this stage, we are ready to take our custard off the heat and incorporate our gelatin immediately. If we were using leaf gelatin, we would soak it until it was soft and then we would add it to our custard and stir it gently. Ensure that you do this step fast because we don't want our custard to be sitting in our hot pan for too long. Once everything is mixed in, pass it through a sieve to catch any bits of scrambled eggs, probably even bits of shells or anything of that sort, and set it aside. Discard everything that's left in the sieve, and that's your custard ready for cooling. Bavarois is a dessert that has a very luxurious, very rich, silky feel to it, so it's set while stirring constantly in an ice bath. While your custard is still loose, it's the perfect opportunity for you to incorporate more vanilla or perhaps even other flavors such as cardamom, cinnamon, or orange zest, and mix well. We want to mix it, we want to scrape down the sides pretty much every couple of minutes. This is important because we want our custard to set with the same consistency and we don't want our sides to set in ribbons. Please don't let this part discourage you from making some delicious bavarois. It is an absolutely gorgeous dessert, and while there are easier things to make, this part of stirring constantly till your custard reaches a setting point takes about 10 to 15 minutes. So this dish is absolutely worth your patience and you should give it a try. Just keep calm and keep stirring, making sure that you get the sides every couple of minutes. As you can tell, our custard is starting to thicken now. It's starting to get to a consistency of double cream. We need to carry on stirring it till it reaches the consistency of our whipped double cream. It is always easier to combine two things when they are of the same consistency and of the same temperature, which is why it's important to leave our double cream at room temperature, because if you add chilled double cream to your custard, you might get a very streaky mixture. Our custard's almost set to the consistency of our whipped double cream. Time to just add in all of our double cream into our custard and combine gently until everything comes together beautifully. Don't be afraid to be a bit vigorous with it should you need it. We are not at risk of knocking off any air here, so really mix as you please to get it combined. Now you can do as you please. You can serve it family style, just add it in a big serving dish and top it with different things such as fruits, maybe even some kind of jelly, some nuts, praline, all sorts of different things. I, however, love to show off the jiggly perfection that they are, and I like to use a mold to set them. To prepare my molds, I generously coat them in any flavorless oil, and using a spoon, I very carefully pour in my bavarois, level them up a little should they need it, and wrap them in some cling film and refrigerate for at least 5 hours or until they are set completely. Now it's time to make our coulis. Here I'm using fresh strawberries as they are in season and they are wonderfully sweet and fresh, but you can also use frozen. Cut them into fairly uniform pieces so that they cook through at the same time and add them in a saucepan. Placing the pan on medium heat, add in the sugar and cook through, stirring every so often until the strawberries soften and the sugar dissolves completely. We don't need any water here because the juices will make the coulis wonderfully syrupy, but feel free to add some lemon juice should you want your coulis a little bit more tart. Also, lemon juice will brighten the flavors of strawberry and make for a better coulis. But in this particular dish, because I'm pairing it with vanilla bavarois, I'm going to keep it fairly simple and make a coulis just with sugar and some strawberries. Once your strawberries are soft and cooked through, taste it very carefully and adjust with a bit more sugar, a little squeeze of lemon juice, and then we've got our coulis. This coulis can be simmered a little bit longer to thicken, but as it cools down, it thickens and becomes almost like runny honey. So I say that this is perfect at this stage. Now pass it through a sieve and push down on the fruit with a spoon until we get every last drop of that delicious coulis. We don't want any pulp in our coulis, but it would be an absolute waste to throw this. I save it for later to blend with my morning smoothie or even stir in with my yogurt. You can now skim and discard the froth on top, but it doesn't bother me, so I just mix it in. After that, I just leave it to come to room temperature and then I refrigerate it till I'm ready to serve. So I refrigerated my bavwa overnight and it's set perfectly. I love seeing the little specks of vanilla throughout. To unmold, place the bavwa in a bowl of recently boiled water for about 10 seconds. Make sure that the hot water is at the level of bavwa so that the top unmolds just as effectively as the bottom. Wipe off the excess water and then turn your bavwa onto a serving plate and carefully but firmly give a few sideways wobbles so that any vacuum releases and the bavwa unmolds neatly onto your plate. See how it's set so perfectly. You can see a gentle wobble. It's firm and yet it jiggles beautifully. You can tell that this is going to be a very silky dessert. Add in your coulis. You can see that it's thickened slightly. It is just the right texture to pair wonderfully with any dessert. Or you can serve your bavwa in a bowl and top it with some of that delicious coulis and some fruits, maybe even some nuts and seeds, and enjoy this beautiful dessert that is just as comforting as it is decadent. I hope you give this a try and let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Please like, subscribe and comment if you like this recipe. Thanks for watching and have a happy day.